My dad was a great man. What is it that which makes a great man? One that is hardworking, intelligent, passionate, charismatic. Those very words embody the essence of my dad. My dad was born Gary Michael Welling in the small town of Steubenville, Ohio on March 9th, 1943, to his parents Wiley and Mary Welling. Steubenville was a blue-collar steel town just 20 minutes west of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His father was a pipe fitter at a paper mill, and his mother worked for the state of Ohio. Mary was also an award-winning artist in Ohio. It's not a stretch to believe my dad had hard work and character instilled in him as a child. My dad went to Steubenville Big Red High School, a powerhouse football program in Ohio. The other high school in Steubenville was Catholic Central. That's where Linda Fry attended, the love of his life.
We lived a block and a half away from each other, but we never knew each other. Us girls went to this party with your godmother and friends of hers from work. It was down on 4th Street. It was like a castle. And I said to my friend, I said, "Who's that guy across the room?" She said, "Forget him, he's engaged." Okay. And then we used to hang out at the boulevard. And we were in there, it wasn't a few weeks, a month later, and he came. He wasn't engaged anymore. We started dating and talking and dating and got married a year later. We used to dance a lot. They'd dance there and then we'd dance. And there was a place in Bonesby that had dances on the weekends. And yeah, everybody danced back then.
Was he a good dancer?
He was a great dancer.
And then literally a year later, y'all were married.
He had the job like in 63. We got married in 66. He'd come home on weekends and see each other at the boulevard. I didn't have a ride home one night. I asked him if he'd take me home because he lived a block and a half away from me. All them years we never knew each other because we went to different schools.
53 years later.
53 years later.
My dad's mom, Mary, wanted something more for her son besides a life of a steel mill worker. In true Welling fashion, Mary set her sight on a goal and went off to make that happen. She drove into Pittsburgh and went to the corporate offices of International Business Machines and told them her son was very gifted and inquired what he had to do to get a job there. Attending Penn Tech was the answer. Dad enrolled and graduated from there. He started his career as a field engineer, but his hard work would take him far.
The late 1980s and early 1990s was the birth of the personal computer. Technology had reached a state that PCs were more accessible to the average household. In 1988, there were over 1,500 PC manufacturers in the United States, many who had the same custom-build model as Dell computers. Why did Dell go on to become one of the market leaders? It made a strategic decision at the time to differentiate and provide best-in-class service and support. Dell named a veteran service professional that had cut his teeth with IBM and others to lead that effort. Gary Welling was appointed as the Vice President of Worldwide Service and Support for Dell. Dell went on to win an unprecedented 7 straight J.D. Power and Associates Awards for service and support. 7 straight. Gary Welling had delivered on the differentiation, and Dell went on to become the market leader in PC computing. The University of Texas in Austin, Dell's home city, has a saying, "What starts here changes the world." Gary changed the world. His leadership and molding of Dell's service organization won't go down in the history books, but he certainly changed the world. Gary Welling shaped the entire technology landscape for eternity.
My dad could dance and sing. He was an intelligent problem solver and funny as hell. The other thing he could do really well was make beautiful babies. He and Linda had two of them, Kevin Michael and Bradley Patrick. My dad loved sports and used that passion to teach, grow, and bond with my brother and me. Being in Austin meant that all our live game lessons came with the Texas Longhorns. Dad also made sure we were active in sports as well. Dad was a coach, commissioner, carpool driver, and fan to us both through countless sports: soccer, baseball, football, and swimming. He was there to guide and yell. Ask any kid growing up in our neighborhood, and they remember my dad as a constant presence at every event. He even had coaching success, taking back-to-back teams to the Texas Final Four championships in youth soccer. I'll never forget the time my brother Brad was playing basketball and had a pass come to him and crushed the end of his finger. My dad, of course, rushed the court, made sure his son was all right, and brought him to the sideline. Dad let Brad know it was just a stove finger. Happens all the time. Best course of action was to pull on it and get the blood flowing. So Dad yanked and yanked on my brother's finger to my brother's grimacing face, only to find out after that the finger was broken. Classic Dad. Dad was an entrepreneur as well, using that genius to create. His love of sports came through in his endeavor, and he and his family opened a 7,000 square foot pool hall in Round Rock, Texas in '94. GQ Billiards had great success at one time, selling more Budweisers than any other establishment in Williamson County. It was home to darts, poker, video, karaoke, and of course, pool. GQ was the home of the second longest running 9-ball tournament in the country, the Texas Open 9-ball championships, which brought some of the very best players in the world to its doors. Dad loved being in the pool hall. It had 17 TVs showing sports nonstop. He was surrounded by music nonstop, also one of his great passions. He would love to play the jukebox, and even more would host a karaoke night a few nights a week, where he could hit the stage and show off his amazing singing voice. Mostly he'd use that platform to serenade his wife with songs from their past, including their song, For Your Precious Love. Dad could bring down the house and the tears from his precious love.
Your precious love means more to me than any love could ever be. For when
The house felt like a second home to me. Every Friday night during the school year and almost every night during the summer, we would all hang out at the Wellens. Choir, spades, poker, or video games or something with a night's activity. Mrs. Wellens said she would wake up in the morning and just start counting all the kids that had flipped over. He used to walk around kind of half naked with his shirt off, singing, oh boy, I'm going to try this here. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble. You're perfect in every way. Each day I look in the mirror. I get better looking each day. Anyhow, I think he was just saying it to be funny or sarcastic or whatever. But, you know, maybe, just maybe subconsciously I learned to be happy and confident in my own skin, like he obviously was in his.
I'd go in southern England all the time to when I was with IBM, quite a few times out there in Winchester, where Winchester Cathedral is. My hotel would look out over the cathedral, and we used to go out drinking there, and the pubs would open around 11 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock to close. So all the fuckers could go home and eat. And then all the drunk bastards to leave. And they'd open back up 6:30, and all them fuckers were back. And closed it at 10.
Dude, I'll tell you that.
Hey, Kev, Dad, just calling to see what you're up to, how you're doing. Hey, I hope you talk to Mama. She's up there all right. Thank you, son. Love you.
My dad had his first stroke in 2008. Since then, he's been in and out of the hospital with various conditions and surgeries. In 2018, we thought we were going to lose Dad. He had major blockages in his arteries that ended up with him spending 10 out of the 12 months in the hospital and in rehab.
I love you, Dad. It's too sad.
But he made it out and made it home. He rehabbed and was walking with the use of a walker. He had worked really hard and was up to being able to walk over 750 feet. My dad lived with me. I used to love our times in the morning before I'd head out to work, when he'd stroll his way out to the kitchen to make us coffee. He'd always comment on how great the coffee was, and we'd talk about work, his doctors and nurses, and of course what was happening with the Longhorn football team. On Monday, August 26th, he arrived at the kitchen singing and without a shirt. We talked about our fantasy football draft that was coming up on Labor Day just a week away. Labor Day was our favorite weekend of the year. It's when our 15-year-old fantasy football draft was, when the Longhorns played their first football game each year, and when the Texas Open tournament ran. I commented on how great he looked. The exercise and diet were really paying off. "I feel great, bub," he said, with the look he could give with that incredible smile and warm, loving eyes. I got a call that afternoon from my mom that the EMS was at the house again and taking Dad to the hospital with severe stomach pains. When I arrived at the hospital, the doctor informed us that imaging had shown he had a blood clot resulting in causing all of his small intestine and most of his large intestine to die. Catastrophic, they said. We had an hour to say our goodbyes before they rolled him off to a surgery that they gave him less than a 10% chance to live through. Great news. The doctor emerged to let us know the imaging was off and they only had to take 2 feet out, but he'd have to survive one more surgery. He did, and was looking as great as I've ever seen Dad look. We made plans for me to come to the hospital the next day to watch a Texas football game together. He told me he loved me and threw me the hook 'em horns. I kissed him on the forehead, told him I love him, and told him he was a strong motherfucker, to which he smiled. That night, August 30th, a little bit before midnight, his nurse went in to check on Dad. He said he was feeling great and asked if he could stand up and walk around. His legs were itching. She told him that she could just sit him up, that he had major surgery and couldn't walk. He said that would work. When she left his room, he told her he loved her and thanked her for taking such good care of him. That was the last act of my dad, as the fluid had built up too much around his heart and caused it to stop. My family has lost a great father. My mom has lost a great husband and the love of her life. The world has lost a man with a ton of heart and love. A man that was hardworking, intelligent, passionate, and charismatic. That is, after all, what makes a great man. I hope I can live out my life and strive to carry on everything you were, Dad. I gotta say, though, it'll be hard. I love you, Dad.
I'm proud of both of you. You take care of your mama.
I'm not done yet, but taking a break.
Your precious love that means more to me than any love could ever be. Oh, when I wanted you, oh, I was so lonely and so blue. That's what love really made me do. And darling, oh, they keep saying that our love won't go now. But honey, I wanna tell them, and I just wanna show them, how in the world do they know that? It's for a long, oh, that long, for as long as you've been in love with me now, I know our love will go wider and so deeper than any ever seen. Oh, oh, the thing that I want now in this whole wide world is just for you to say that you will be my girl. And I'm calling, I'm wanting you. I just keep wanting you now. Oh, now. I'm wanting you now. Nobody but you now. Nobody but you now. Ooh, I want to tell you just one more time. For your precious love now. Oh, now. It means everything in the world to me. Everything in the world to me. And I could just go wild just to have right home with me. Oh, na, 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 na. Love you, honey.